Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and it's your favorite black dude who kind of thinks like Destiny, but is not nearly as unhinged. Um, this is a Piers Morgan reaction. Destiny's also on this as well, in addition to Ted Cruz and some other things. I'm gonna skip around. If you guys want to watch the full thing, feel free. You guys can go to Piers Morgan's channel. He has a million subscribers. You guys know where to find him. But yeah, let's look into it. Let's see if there's some really good points being made here. Let's see if there's really good things to dissect. And let's find out things to make fun of Piers Morgan for, because that's what we do. Hey, man, honestly, someone should just pay me to make fun of Piers Morgan. I'll do it. I don't want to do it for free. Pay me. But seriously, let's talk about this matter of factly. Hopefully this conversation is provides a new perspective and nuance. And I'm curious about a few things that's going to be said, both from Piers Morgan's point of view and Ted Cruz's point of view. So let's dive into this. We'll start off with Piers Morgan's monologue on Epstein.
Look, I want them to release everything.
Has something to do with Epstein, with your brother being killed.
I wouldn't write that off.
I heard God killed those kids being killed.
I wouldn't write that off.
I heard God.
All right, let's.
Culpable and responsible. I think the public should know.
You think President Trump has something to do with Epstein, with your brother being killed?
I wouldn't write that off.
I heard.
I mean, we already talked about the whole situation with Epstein. I broke it down on my podcast and multiple videos. I'm not going to do it here because I'm just going to keep on repeating the same thing. Very clearly, when it comes down to the Epstein situation, a lot of it was very shady. And the connections is very apparent between him and Donald Trump. Now, I won't be talking about Destiny tweeting an edgy tweet because he does that for no reason. Honestly, I don't know why he keeps doing that. Now, do I like to indulge in edginess? For sure. I made a tweet about Andrew Wilson, and his wife replied, and I was about to say something crazy about Andrew Wilson. Maybe if I have time, I'll put the screenshot on the camera or on the screen. But I was about to say something crazy, but I knew it was like, I better not say that. And then, if you guys don't know the whole situation where I said this, and I got a lot of backlash for it. So it's like, I mean, for me, if you're going to say something edgy, don't back down. Stay 10 toes. It's a joke. But if I'm going to make a joke, I have to be not confident that I can defend it, because I know I can defend it, but be confident that I don't want a misperception to dictate the intentionality behind what I'm doing, right? I don't want a whole narrative that has nothing to do with what I'm doing to be a part of the conversation. So that's why I'm more careful with like how I do my jokes. Whereas Destiny just says bullshit online. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? All right. Well, let's talk about this.
Killed those to get around the Texas posting.
Absolutely not. The hand wringing.
And although I agree that MAGA is hypocritical when it comes to like edgy stuff, like they'll say some terrible stuff about leftists and then pretend that they're the moral high ground warriors. Like that is just factually, objectively true. My issue is Destiny keeps doing it. Like it's hard to make your case if you're doing the same thing they're doing. Like it's just, you're supposed to be better, right? you know, the idea of like showcase that we are different from you savages, right? Yeah, it's just
the hand wringing here. Oh my! It's in LA when it's about the
size of the town, which you don't care because you're literally trying to make money off of dead people. Google the size of the Comfort, Texas City Hall. You can't.
It's interesting that the only time Piers Morgan brings on Destiny is if he can criticize Destiny and have a story to spin. Like Destiny, you're a fucking idiot sometimes. You're making a narrative out of something when for no reason. We should not be paying attention to this bullshit. Now, again, if you make the joke, don't stand back. Don't, like, I'm gonna be honest, do not apologize. You made the joke, stand 10 toes, but stop making edgy stuff. You keep doing it. You keep doing it. All right.
Can't fit hundreds of people in any meeting there, you moron.
his own life. Well, that video skips forward by a full minute, fueling even more speculation. It proves now as a the Epstein files on facing intensifying
You moron!
pressure for the calamitous. Well, Attorney General Pam Bondi is facing intensifying bipartisan pressure for the calamitous handling of the Epstein files. Bondi claimed a so-called Epstein client list, which many imagined as a record of high-profile abusers he'd blackmailed, was sitting on her desk. The administration now says there is no list, there was no blackmail, and that the release of prison videotapes proves he took his own life. Well, that video skips forward by a full minute, fueling even more speculation, for which he offered this rather torturous explanation.
The minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on...
What the fuck did she just say? What kind of ring around the rosy logic is that? Oh my god, what did you just say? Okay.
That there was a minute that was off the counter, and what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999, so every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night, and that's it.
Y'all think we're about to get that minute? Y'all think they're, or are they trying very hard to use AI to doctor it like hell? Oh man, I'm not buying any of this shit. Now, personally, if I had to like bet on it, I don't know. It's hard because there's so much circumstantial stuff that leads to this situation being very shady. Like, most conspiracies suck. Like, they're ass. Like, the earth is round. The earth is flat, y'all suck. That's a stupid theory. This one, there's just a lot of circumstantial stuff, so it's like very plausible. But ultimately, I'm more concerned about that list. I think the list exists for sure. Whether or not he committed suicide, there's two ways you could think about it. Whether someone took him out or someone convinced him to commit suicide. Like, either is possible. More than likely it's the second one, so it's hard to say. But it's just funny to see how MAGA try to propel this whole thing, and now they're spiraling out of control, and that motherfucker that is sitting two seats down from Pam Bondi try to tell us, you still talking about... I swear to God, if Piers Morgan doesn't bring that up, give me a second, let me see if Piers Morgan brings it up.
That's not likely to be it on Epstein for Bondi or anybody else in the administration. For those who've demanded answers for years, spurred on by the very people now in office who are saying there simply aren't any, it's a fundamental issue of trust. President Trump has made clear he's sick of it all.
Oh, he is playing it good.
Sure. Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
We are going to talk about this creep. Later on, I'll interview his brother, Mark Epstein, who has some explosive insights onto the deal.
You don't have any commentary about that? You have nothing to say about the person who's associated with one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all time? You don't have an opinion about him trying to move on and ending the conversation? But he has a whole episode roasting Destiny for his tweet, though. But he got nothing to say about Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe he does say something with his brother. Will I watch it? I don't know. If you guys did watch it, let me know if Piers Morgan actually has a fucking spine.
DOJ's conclusions. But we begin with the utter devastation in Texas and the deadly flash floods that have killed more than 100, with at least 160 still missing in a single county. Frantic search and rescue operations are ongoing as we speak. Democrats are attempting to tie their response to government cuts. In a moment, we'll introduce the panel to debate all this. But first, I'm joined.
You know how the way he phrases things is so interesting, right? Because, yeah, there are Democrats doing that. But did he have the same energy when the Republicans were doing that? Of course not. I'm here to check Piers Morgan for his biased bullshit. And I will be very clear, because I'm not biased. I'm not a little bot that gets paid by its MAGA base. I think it's inappropriate for Democrats to be using this as a political tool. Very much so. I don't think it's good at all. You can call out MAGA hypocrisy without using this as a means to denigrate the lives that are being lost from the circumstance, the victims from a unfortunate situation. It's hard to say whether or not the funding cuts, the staff cuts, or the cuts from the National Weather Service could have helped prevent this. It's hard to really make that conclusion, but honestly, the forefront conversation, what you should be saying first is very clear, that we'll do whatever it takes to help the people. We support the people. We do this X, Y, and Z. And then after this whole entire situation is like done, that is the moment where you bring up, well, we did our best to help. We pitched in. We try to make sure these citizens are okay. I do think that it's a very worrying conversation that this potentially could have been better if we had more funding, if we had more staff to ensure that they can help prevent this situation, if we had more funding to help find and support this state. We need to be able to do better because kids' lives are being lost. Like, you bring it up afterwards. You don't bring it up now because it seems like you don't really give a shit about the lives, right? And I'm not trying to play moral high character because in reality, most of these motherfucking politicians don't give a shit about people's lives. And I'm not going to pretend that it's possible for me to care about everybody's lives. But there's always a time and a place. If you don't care about the lives, then don't impede the process of people or the process or the people in the process that do care about the people's lives. Because now we're talking about something that shouldn't be taught, that should honestly not be a conversation. Why the fuck are we wasting time talking about Destiny's edgy tweet? Why the fuck are we wasting time talking about Democrats using this as a political tool? I know why. And you know why. Because it gets views, it gets clicks, it gets attention. And that's all what politics is all about.
By Texas Senator Ted Cruz making his debut on.
Okay, let's see what Ted Cruz has to say about Epstein. I like how the Ted Cruz only has like 20 seconds to talk about Epstein. All right, let's hear this out.
Sort of dust up as it was reported, but actually it was a really interesting conversation between you and Tucker Carlson. I like that conversation. I think you should have robust conversations. And all right, they get clipped up and things go viral and people.
Piers Morgan is incapable of having those conversations. Unless he's criticizing a Democrat and a leftist and someone who's anti-Trump.
Take their kind of tribal positions, but actually you need more of that. People getting in a room and having sometimes polar opposite opinions, but thrashing it out. You only came on to talk about the floods, and I don't want to abuse that.
I like how you romanticize that conversation, whereas Tucker Carlson was flaming the shit out of Ted Cruz. But okay. Okay. All right, Piers Morgan.
I just can't, given we're basically building the show around this. I just wanted to ask you one question about something else, and it's about these Epstein files. A lot of people very angry that after being led to the water's edge of a belief by the administration there was going to be all this stuff coming out, client lists and so on, accountability, that suddenly it seems the shutters have come down on this. A lot of people, as you know, on the conservative right, and particularly in the MAGA world, very, very upset about this. What's your reaction to it? Now, everybody knows how much
Fuck your ad.
On that for a long time. I've called on that during the previous administration. The Biden administration did not release these materials. I've called on this administration to release these materials. I think Jeffrey Epstein was a sexual predator. I think he targeted and abused young girls. And all the evidence we have is there were a number of other men who participated in that. Yeah. And I want to know everyone who participated. I want to know everyone that went to Epstein's Island. And you know, the Attorney General has said that there are thousands of hours of videos, of explicit videos. And what she told me, I asked her a couple of months ago what the delay was. And what she told me then is she said the delay was that they're trying to go through those videos and make sure they're not releasing releasing images of kids being sexually abused. And I understand that you want to protect the privacy of the victim. And so and she just said that takes time. I think they should release every adult who was culpable and responsible. I think the public should know, and I think they should be criminally prosecuted.
I completely agree. Senator Cruz, great to have you on Uncensored for the first time. Don't leave us alone next time.
All right.
Yeah, be friendly. Be friendly with your buddy, your MAGA buddy. Is that it? They just refuse to really go in detail, huh? They refuse to ask the real questions. Well, let's see if this full debate asks the real questions. I'll probably do 15-ish minutes. I don't want this video to be too long. I've been yapping. I'm yapping too much, to be honest. So, all right. Oh, he brings on the woman. Oh, no. He just replays a quote she said. I already seen that quote. Well, maybe you guys want to see the quote. Do you guys want to see the quote? You guys already seen the quote. I'll play the quote. Fuck it.
Terrific. Thanks.
And please send all our very best wishes.
Thank you.
Take some people. And it's thanks very much. Later, and YouTube host Brian Tyler with Ted Cruz making his uncensored death about the having got everybody very.
Names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
It is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs. We have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Piers, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway. We don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam, there will be accountability.
Now, Ben, that clip has had millions and millions of views this week, understandably, because there's a massive disconnect between what she told me there and what Pam Bondi was saying and what others were saying and what's actually materialized in the last 48 hours. Senator Cruz there very firmly that he wants everything put out and he wants criminal action taken against those who broke the law. What's your view?
Couldn't agree more. Look, I think there's transparency the American people deserve. But not just the American people, most importantly, the victims. They deserve to not have this be covered up in any capacity or for people to just stop.
I wonder if it's, I know for a fact, because like I said, me and Dusty are very similar here. He's going to force these guys to address the real question. That real orange man question. Let's see how the energy is going to turn up a bit. And then Piers Morgan's going to bring it all the way back and then aim his gun at Destiny because edgy tweet.
Looking, I don't know if there's certain information that has disappeared or wasn't there that they thought was there. But at the end of the day, all that we do have needs to be put out there in a responsible way. You have to protect the victims. That is something that's extremely important. And so it's got to be done in an orderly way. But there are too many people that have talked about this on the record saying that there's a lot of stuff out there to then all of a sudden say, all right, well, maybe we don't have it. Maybe it's not there. Whatever the story is, give it to everyone the same way and make sure you protect those victims. But they deserve justice. And I don't think this is going to be the end of the story. I think there's far too many people that are asking the questions that you just mentioned, that the senator mentioned, that I'm mentioning. And this should be nonpartisan. This should be non-political. You have children that apparently were sex trafficked and abused in horrific ways. That has nothing to do with politics. It should come out whether the people that were the perpetrators of this were.
Okay. Because Dusty's so edgy. I know. Just like do something for me. Agree, then dive into it deeper. Don't start. You don't gotta. You don't gotta do that right off rip. Okay. ease yourself into it. A little foreplay. You feel me?
Liberal or conservative or agnostic, it doesn't matter. You need to protect the victims, and we need to make sure things like this never, ever, ever, ever happen again.
Right. Brian Tyler Cohen, I mean, I do think it's a nonpartisan issue. Obviously, nothing is these days, but I do think that it is completely baffling to me, just as a journalist, that you have this extraordinary scandal that rages away for many years. The main perpetrator dies in prison and is believed to have taken his own life. But the only person that's actually been made criminally accountable and is now languishing in prison is Ghislaine Maxwell, his kind of madame figure, who's a woman. So none of the other men who are widely believed to have been involved in this, none of them have been made accountable. What's your view of this?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that this is a con job by this administration. All of these people, Kash Patel, Alina Habba, Dan Bongino, Donald Trump, all of them came forward and said that this was a priority for them because they were stringing their supporters along. And then the moment they get into power, here we are in a situation where the whole thing is just closed and we have no further information on this. And yet, look, I think it would be fools to be surprised. I mean, this is a guy, Jeffrey Epstein, who Trump himself palled around with for years. This is a guy who Epstein himself called his closest friend.
Kicked him out of his club.
Of course, he gotta defend his daddy. Okay, of course he gotta defend his daddy. Oh, here we go. MAGA. Let's see how they defend all this stuff. Okay, let's hear it. We got a big little cuck over here. Okay.
This is a guy who Jeffrey Epstein said was his closest friend for 10 years. This is a guy who Donald Trump appointed as his Secretary of.
That is 100% objectively what he said. That is objectively what he said. And I've already played the clip on this channel so many times. That is just objectively what he said.
Labor, Alex Acosta, who handed him a sweetheart deal, a non-prosecution agreement where he was out of prison 6 out of 7 days a week. So, look.
Did he mention the attorney general in that case in Florida was also Pam Bondi? Maybe he did. I didn't hear it.
Trump can say what he wants on the campaign trail in the lead up when he needs to get everybody's votes and pander to the base. But at the end of the day, he's the guy in charge. And suddenly the about face from everybody in his administration, the buck falls to one person. It's not Alina Habba or Carolyn Levitt or Dan Bongino or Kash Patel. It's Trump himself.
Right. I mean, Natalie, the interesting thing in terms of the timeline here is that when Elon Musk fell out pretty spectacularly and suddenly with Donald Trump, one of the things he posted on his X platform was, bombshell, the biggest.
Now, this is actually a good point by Piers Morgan. I do think that Elon Musk putting that tweet out put extraordinary amount of pressure on the MAGA administration the moment that happened, for sure.
Bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein files, right? And that was only a few weeks ago. And since then, there seems to have been a concerted effort for this story to just go away. Now, these two things may be completely unconnected. There may be nothing more to it other than Trump obviously was seen around Epstein. They clearly were very friendly for a while. I think he used his plane several times. I don't think that's in dispute. But there does seem to be a weird timeline here of Elon Musk saying that publicly and everything getting shut down a few weeks later. Am I reading too much into this?
Well, look, I think this is very quickly approaching. I mean, we've already passed debacle territory, but just outright grift. And that's probably not something that you would expect me to say, but this is just absolutely reprehensible. I think if you look at what really the MAGA base, the people who elected President Trump, what their sort of concerns have been these past few months is that the administration is not moving fast enough, right? They're not content with the press releases and the tweets. They want to see prison sentences and actual accountability for people that they believe committed crimes. Now we've hit the point where we're not even getting the press releases or the strongly worded letters. We're getting weird, undated, unnamed memos being released over holiday weekends to legacy media outlets trying to bury it in Axios instead of working with all the new media outlets that the White House, pumped and talked so openly and heavily about being in and around the White House. I mean, this is a bedrock issue. I know, I agree, it's nonpartisan, it's non-political to want to get justice for the victims, but I also think that this is something that is both hyper-partisan and hyper-political, because what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, whether it's a foreign intel operation or domestic aside or joint operation, has direct ramifications, and probably the policies that we've seen being rolled out, whether through blackmail indirectly or directly through a lot of the political leaders in this nation. I would just say, as someone who has been on shows, co-hosted with a lot of the people, the clips that we've played of people who have called out Jeffrey Epstein for years and made millions of dollars off of it, it is absolutely reprehensible, and it is a complete grift. And you have now, in their words, probably become the deep state. If you're going to run cover for this and you think that the MAGA audience is dumb enough to not, be able to go back 2 months and see the comments you were making on Fox News, we need to get this right. I don't even know if I have faith in Pam Bondi anymore, but this is a really, really concerning moment for MAGA.
Golf clap. She made some really good points there. This is why I'm very interested to see how it goes. The thing is, I feel like everybody agrees that them not releasing it is not okay. The connective tissue, the point of disagreement, the only partisan issue here is the amount of blame and accountability Donald Trump has and the potentiality of the conspiracy theory that he's on the list. That is the point of contention, right? Because regardless of how mad MAGA is, turning on Trump is a different story altogether, right? Because the problem here is not necessarily whether or not they believe in the conspiracy. The problem here is that a lot of their rhetoric for the last 8 years has been bedrocked by conspiracy. And a lot of conspiracy that has been debunked. And I bet like Brian or Destiny may bring this up. But some examples, right? The election fraud conspiracy, that was debunked. The stuff regarding Joe Biden, that conspiracy, that was debunked. And then we had situations, the COVID conspiracy, which was debunked. But all this kind of rhetoric, all of this kind of messaging stayed true. It stayed steadfast. It never wavered. People still think the election was stolen. People still think that COVID was intentional. People still think that, what was the other thing I mentioned? That Joe Biden was bought by the government, by a foreign government. Was it either the Chinese? I believe they were trying to assume that the Chinese was giving money from to Hunter Biden and then by default to Joe Biden. So these conspiracies lived and they thrived and they played a huge factor into winning elections. I didn't even mention like the immigration conspiracy where people think that Democrats only want immigrants so they can vote in elections, even though they can't. Illegal immigrants can't vote. But this one, this conspiracy regarding Epstein and Trump and Epstein's death, that's the one that they refuse to give any credence to. So that is the big issue. I think that's the big point of contention here.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny, it is fascinating to see how a lot of the most diehard Trump supporters in the kind of podcast, YouTube, influencer world, they've turned pretty vengefully against him and the administration over this. What do you make of it?
So here's the reality. The reality is, I keep hearing people like Joe Rogan saying the conspiracy theorists ended up being right about everything. They weren't. They were wrong about basically every single thing. There was no mass.
Destiny's about to repeat everything I just said. That's what, hey man. Like I said, we think very similarly. Very similarly. I just have sharper facial hair. You know what I'm saying?
of election fraud. There were no mass deaths from the COVID vaccine. There is no evidence that it was manufactured in a laboratory. There is no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered by somebody. The reality is every single thing I said is true, and I will debate you on any platform.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology you're saying wasn't true. That's where you
idea what you're. You have no idea.
Hang on, Destiny, hang on.
That's just stupid.
Hang on, Destiny.
Let me finish my point. Excuse me. Let me finish my point. The problem is that the problem is that you guys spent so much time spreading these conspiracies that when you finally wound up, sir, I don't even know if you know what. Do you even believe that viruses and germs are real? I'm not actually sure. Please stop.
I do.
The problem is that conservatives spent all this time. Conservatives spent all this time.
You would understand
conservatives spent all. Well, if you want to bring me on your show, we'll talk about it anytime, anywhere. Okay. Conservatives spent all this time. I don't insult
my audience with stupid comments.
Well, hang on. Let me.
That guy would not bring Destiny on because he would get fucking destroyed. He just would. He would get destroyed in debate. MAGA is very particular. They used to be. It's crazy because I used to think that the right wing were the people who were open to conversation. But ever since MAGA got created, they just have MAGA, and it's the conspiracy theory circle. They ensure that no good debaters go debate against them.
Let me just jump in on this point.
Excuse me. Can I wait? Hold on. Wait.
Destiny. Let me
wait.
Well, you made a series of statements there about.
And I'm almost done with like one sentence. Conservatives spent all this time with all these conspiracies, and then as soon as they got into office and they no longer had a deep state to blame, all of a sudden there was no election fraud evidence. There was no evidence about Hunter Biden being conspiratorial, with Ukraine or Russia. There was no evidence of Epstein being murdered, and that's what's happened.
Okay.
They are now the deep state. They have every part of the government under control, and they have no evidence for any of their claims.
Here's the problem.
See, the thing is, I know exactly what he's doing here. Is it effective in the point? So is this an effective strategy? Pointing out that they were wrong about all conspiracies. And then by default, you're also coalescing the idea of that the Epstein conspiracy is also wrong. I would have to really think about this strategy and if it's effective. Like, if I had a bet on it, am I going to bet that someone killed Epstein? No. I would bet that Donald Trump's name is on the list, but I wouldn't bet on someone killing Epstein. So, I see what he's doing. I don't know if this is the most effective strategy. I think there's a better way to approach this, but we'll see how this plays out.
You've made a series of statements there alleging that all these things are pure conspiracy theories and there's no evidence for it. And yet it is widely now accepted that actually it is more likely than not that the coronavirus, COVID-19, was started in that lab. That is now widely accepted. That's not a conspiracy theory.
It's not. That is a conspiracy theory.
So this is why he started researching the COVID-19. Like, see, this is why this strategy wasn't effective. You derailed the conversation into some bullshit. You just had to focus. Honestly, this is the point where Destiny, you don't let them pivot you and focus on what you were talking about in the first place. Because if they get deep into that Epstein conversation, it's going to get wicked.
Began as a conspiracy theory.
I promise you, there is no scientific evidence. There is no compelling intelligence committee evidence that is the case.
So you think, Destiny, to be clear.
Do I care enough to research the COVID conspiracy? No, I don't. I don't care. Not at all. There's no conclusive evidence. That's just factually true. There's a lot of speculation, but nothing conclusive. Just because general... And Piers Morgan, you're a fucking bot. It's not widely accepted. It's just your entire circle is full of right-wing conspiracy theories. So you just you just see the acceptance of all the right-wingers. But ultimately, it's not conclusive, but there's a lot of speculation and a lot of agreed upon speculation. This is just such a non-talking point. Like, I don't... Why are we focusing on this?
Hang on.
All right, I'm gonna see if we can skip this.
These crazy conspiracies that you guys spread about things like COVID because they thought if they accepted the money,
I know
the
about
transcripts
that,
are public. The transcripts are public, sir. I'm sorry, hold on. Are you telling me? argue
don't
with you.
all
I'm just
shout at
saying,
once.
so everybody can see who's running from it, okay?
Don't all shout at once. Let me bring Brian back in here. You see, this is the interesting thing, I think, Brian. I read what Joe Rogan put out about conspiracy theories. He was really saying, what he was saying was, don't just dismiss them all out of hand, was his real theme about this. Because a lot of things that are alleged to be conspiracy theories, and the COVID lab one is a classic example where that began as being something that could get people cancelled if they even dared suggest it, and is now, the US CIA believes that a research-related origin in Wuhan in the lab is more likely than the theory it came from animals. So
yes, something that is more likely is not conclusive. Again, it's not conclusive. It's just a agreed upon speculation. You can't say the theory is correct if it's not conclusive. Like, don't be stupid. Like, it's just, can we be smarter on how we talk about these things? This is dangerous.
CIA now, belied a point is that life or was murdered, believe he took his life. But there's this weird video with the missing minute and Pam Bondi's talk.
Okay, we're back talking about Epstein, okay?
It seems that most people who've looked at this professionally believe he took his life. But there's this weird video with the missing minute and Pam Bondi's torturous explanation for what that may be about. There's also the undeniable fact that he surrounded himself with a myriad number of famous, rich, powerful people who would have a vested interest in shutting him up. That is indisputable. There are also all these rumors flying around, which, even Alan Dershowitz thought there may be some merit to this when I interviewed him on Monday, that he may have been some kind of Israeli Mossad agent of some sort. You put all this together, and again, it's very easy to say, well, it's all a conspiracy theory, to say that he did anything other than he took his life and nobody else was involved. There's no client list. Nobody else abused these girls. It's over. I don't think that's the conspiracy theory. The conspiracy that's going on right now, it seems to me, is a conspiracy of shutting this down, of silencing debate about it, wanting to move on, and for actually nobody other than Ghislaine Maxwell to be held accountable when it is. I mean, look, take Prince Andrew, right, in my country.
He loves this Prince Andrew connection. But the other connection, he's not willing to entertain for obvious reasons. Now, fuck you, I'm not being fair to Piers.
Prince Andrew paid.
I could give you a very nuanced take. I will. You know what? That's my platform. Let me give a nuanced take, okay? All right. Nuanced take. We'll watch a couple more minutes and then we'll end the video. Nuanced take that, okay, in a situation where you're antagonistic with Prince Andrew, it's very obvious Piers Morgan does not like Prince Andrew and certain members of the royal family. Sure, you're more willing to accept that they are wrongful in X, Y, and Z. He's friends with Donald Trump. We all know that's factually true. He's very close to Donald Trump. He fucking glazes him on social media all the time. So even though that conspiracy probably has an equal amount of credence to it compared to the Prince Andrew one, because he's your friend and because he's so attached to your bank account, unless it's conclusive, you don't want to entertain that. My issue is just be honest with yourself and stop pretending that you're moderate. Stop pretending that you're nuanced. That's my biggest issue with Piers Morgan.
Virginia Giuffre a reported $11 million, right? But claim 18 in a London townhouse. Now, Met, right? I don't, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So shut up and move.
We saw yesterday when the White House was posed these questions, Trump freaked out and said, whoa, why are we still talking about this? Like, can't we talk about something? You've got Donald Trump, who has spent every waking minute of the past almost decade talking about the water pressure in his shower and toilet. That guy suddenly doesn't want to engage in a topic that he's spoken about before. We've heard him go on and on about immigrants being rapists and murderers every day. We've heard him go on and on for the better part of a decade about Hillary Clinton's crimes and the Biden crime family. This guy repeats himself like to the ends of the earth. And yet on the issue of Epstein, which by the way was an issue that his campaign predicated so much of their focus on, that they garnered so much support from their audience based on, now he doesn't want to talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I guess the expression that would come to mind is a hit dog will holler.
Well, also, again, I'll repeat, this follows just literally whatever it was, 3-4 weeks ago, Elon Musk in their big public spat suddenly posting, the big bombshell is that Trump's in the Epstein files. So it
Why does he keep bringing that up?
might be
a move, by the way, that started a conversation about deporting Elon Musk, in case you were wondering whether there was any there.
Is he trying to bring that up to then insinuate that this is only a conversation because Elon Musk is spiteful? Is that what he's trying to do? Hopefully not.
There. So yeah, I mean, clearly that he hit a mark by or he hit a nerve by saying stuff like that. But I mean, for this administration to try and brush it under the rug. And Natalie, I do agree with what you said about there being a lot of grifters. I mean, we've seen Dan Bongino and Kash Patel focus so much energy, so many resources, so much time on this exact issue, only for them to come out and say, oh, well, there's there's absolutely nothing here. But I would also caution, Natalie, to not put the onus, because I've been seeing this more and more on the right, to not put all of the responsibility on Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is an appendage of Donald Trump. She's not calling the shots.
I'm glad that he's focused. Like, Destiny, you're focused, but sometimes you're all over the fucking place. He's focused on the task at hand, putting the blame on Trump, attaching Donald Trump, his name, to this situation, because the easy strategy for a lot of MAGA is to look at Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. But what about Trump? And what about JD Vance? Because JD Vance also said that he believed, I'm not going to lie, I don't have a lot of time to edit it, so I probably won't put any screenshots, so I do apologize, but he also said that he's going to release those files, especially in relation to Joe Biden.
Nobody in this administration is calling the shots. This entire cabinet, this entire White House exists to serve Donald Trump. They exist to basically be extensions of Trump himself, and no one will ever act independently of him. And so if accountability is really what you're looking for here, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that this is all being done in good faith, then let's not delude ourselves into thinking that Pam Bondi is the final word, or that the buck stops with her, when the buck always stops with Donald Trump.
I'm sure that there's merit to that. Let me come to you, Natalie, because Elon Musk has also suggested that.
So he brought up Elon. Is this a strategy? I'm starting to sense that Elon Musk's name being brought up consistently is a strategy to try to pivot away from Donald Trump, because he keeps on doing it. He keeps on bringing his name up. Let me see how this plays out.
Steve Bannon, that you work with, obviously, is in the Epstein files too. What can you say about that?
You know what? I'll take it back. Sorry, Piers, because Steve Bannon's name wasn't even brought up. But shout out. Sorry. So I apologize, Piers. And you were just adding a little bit more context on the people that was accused. Steve Bannon as well. Maybe I'm sorry. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to tell when it comes to Pierce's intentionality when dealing with Donald Trump.
That, I mean, what's the reaction to that, first of all?
Well, I'll always let Steve speak for himself, but I can guarantee you, Steve is certainly not in the Epstein files.
How the hell do you know? You haven't seen a fucking list. How do you know?
Perhaps Elon needs to both be deported and sued for defamation.
Oh. Well, I could see how this is about to go.
But look, I think, in a rare moment, I probably actually agree with Brian. I think that was why the Trump administration wanted to prioritize transparency, at least in their rhetoric, right? From the first days, they wanted the American people to be able to decide on all of this. And I think that sort of compounded with what they were trying to do, right, with the new media initiative, bringing in these other voices to try to, I think, go away from just having legacy media outlets dominate certain narratives, or sort of setting the parameters for what stories are of interest to the American people. And I think when you talk about transparency, I don't know if the Chinese Communist Party, or right now the Trump administration, or whoever it may be, deep state, take your pick, is engaging.
I'm sorry, I have to speed it up. They talking too slow. I'm 45 minutes in. We're speeding it up.
More of a cover up when it comes to whether it's Epstein files or the origins of COVID, respectively. I think that's a rather asinine point. But to link it all back to what you were saying, Piers, I think labeling all these things at the onset, rather, a conspiracy theory, compounding with, I think, a lot of sort of the censorship apparatus that we saw spring up under Joe Biden, you sort of get that same reaction to what people had when President Trump was sitting in his cabinet meeting and saying, why are people interested in this? Why are people looking at that? It just makes people double down. So even if you want to be pragmatic, respectfully, Destiny, saying that there's no evidence, I think you can agree that there is at least one piece of evidence that may intimate that COVID-19 developed in the Wuhan Institute of Virology under Shi Zhengli. I just think these
bro. Fuck Destiny. Why'd you bring up COVID? Oh my God. Stay on topic.
draconian statements make people not more likely to sort of entertain the other side of the fence, but it makes people think that they're actually.
Also, she's correct. Destiny needs to stop using absolute statements. There's no evidence. We all agree. Stop doing that shit. It doesn't help because people can just say, well, there's this, and then it makes your tactic ineffective. Ultimately, I agree with your premise, but people will not listen to the premise. They're playing semantics. Politics is semantics.
Are conspiracies going on to cover up information?
Yeah, I would agree. And Destiny, I'm going to take you off. Hang on, Destiny, let me ask you a question. Destiny, let me ask you a question. So
this was under Biden? I'm pretty sure that was under Trump. So if you want to blame anybody for the censorship, it would have been Trump. I know
let me ask you.
All right, bro. All right, he's about to ask about the fucking Texas stuff. So, only one person kind of agreed with the Donald Trump stuff, even though she still used the term Trump administration. This was the perfect time to hold MAGA to the fire. Maybe they do in the rest of the video, but I blame Destiny on because I'm making this derailed. I do. With that said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did enjoy, like. If you hate me, comment that you hate me. I'm not trying to be your best friend, but I want to have important conversations. I thought I was expecting, I was hoping that they focus on Donald Trump's relationship with all of this. Brian was the only one who tried to get them there, but they all got derailed because of Destiny. So, with that said, hope you guys enjoyed. You have a good one. Take care and peace.